I've never dated an Orthodox girl. Here I've been living in Pico Robertson since '97, near here since '94. Been going to Orthodox synagogues here in Los Angeles for 17 years, and I've never really dated an Orthodox girl. I'm kind of taking an inventory of my life. I don't fear so often these days that I'm losing control. I think therapy and my Alexander technique training and my yoga is all very calming. I like in therapy how I can bounce my life off somebody who's sharp and I can get greater clarity. That also gives me accountability. I show up every week and I'm accountable to someone. Now my therapist names things that I'm going through, such as fear of abandonment or erotic rage, and then I can Google the topic and I can understand more deeply what ails me. It's comforting to know that what ails me has a name, that I'm not alone. It feels good that my problems are not unique. It makes me feel less ashamed that there's not something congenitally wrong with me. Yes, I do bad things at times, but I'm not congenitally flawed. I'm not inherently bad. I don't have to hide who I am because it's just so awful. Now, why have I never dated an Orthodox girl? It's not been my choice, that's been their choice. Not that I think Orthodox girls are frigid. The longer the skirt, the quicker it comes off, is a frequent saying. Now, there may be old or fat or unattractive Orthodox women who would date me, but nobody primo. I want primo. Fear that Orthodox women are in a position to know me best. They're more likely to know people who know me well. They know the mores of my social group, Orthodox Jews. They're more likely to be appalled by how flagrantly I have violated them. Orthodox life is intimate. There are high standards. You can really get to know people. It's harder to fool an insider in your community than an outsider. When you deal with the non-Orthodox, they might not know you're a dog. Knowing that I've never dated an Orthodox Jewish woman makes me feel like my Orthodox Judaism is a fraud. I can't even remember when I last asked out an Orthodox woman. It might be 6 or 10 years ago. I remember about 10 years ago, somebody at my Orthodox shul who did not know me well set me up with a very plain-looking woman. We met for an hour over coffee, and I liked her, and I think she must have gone home and Googled me. So when I spoke to her next, she was very abrupt and couldn't wait to get off the phone. She started referring to me as the porno guy, because I blogged about the porn industry at the time. About a year later, I dated a roommate who was way into me, but not as sharp as I liked them. A lot of sweet women have been sweet on me, even some Orthodox ones, but they didn't turn my pointer up. In the summer and fall of 2001, I was ejected from 3 different Orthodox synagogues in order: Young Israel, Century City, Beth Jacob, and Chabad Beis Bezalel. I hadn't yet completed my conversion to Orthodox Judaism through a recognized Beit Din, Jewish law court, even though I'd been living in the Pico Robertson community in and around it since '94. And the big problem was that I made my living from blogging about the porn industry at the website luke4.com. So to the best of my ability, I kept quiet about my shortcomings within the community. I just had to get them straightened out, and then I'd be my normal, honest self. A seminal blogger, that's what I've been called. I made most of my living most of the time from 1997 to 2007, writing about that other Hollywood in the San Fernando Valley, interviewing hundreds of directors and writers, producers, prostitutes, and porn stars. I heard once that you can tell a man's character by how he earns his living. In that case, my character has been decidedly stained. When I quit writing on porn in October 2007 and sold my website, lukeitsback.com, I had about $17,000 in the bank. Now I have next to nothing, about $45,000 in credit card debt, so blogging about things outside of porn has not proved to be as lucrative. I did not complete my formal conversion to Orthodox Judaism until September 2009. By that time, after more than a decade of living a double life, it had taken its toll. I had a hard time looking Orthodox Jews in the face, let alone asking out their daughters. I felt my place in the community was so tenuous that I didn't want to risk any blowback from any inter-community romance gone wrong. Dating shiksas was just so much easier. I remember a one-night stand went terribly wrong several years ago. A woman blogged that I was a bad lover. She called me Thumper. She said I had no clue about how to make love to a woman. I just hammered away at her. Worse than that, I put my hand over her mouth when she moaned too loudly. Look, I live in a religious neighborhood. I'm surrounded by families with kids. I don't want them disturbed by some broad in the throes of cock-drunk ecstasy. Geez, I should only use my dark powers over the opposite sex. For good. In the fall of 2001, after I'd sworn off writing on the porn industry and I'd sold Luke4.com, went to this Labor Day barbecue at the home of a member of my new synagogue. We'd gone to Talmud class daily for many months at a different synagogue, but we'd only started talking over the past few weeks, and his wife was gorgeous. She was blonde and a grandmother, but she was gorgeous, and she did not like me. When she found out that I'd never been married, she said, it doesn't make any sense why anyone would be Orthodox if they don't have kids. And she found out I was a convert to Judaism. That doesn't make any sense, she said. Why would anyone become Jewish unless you're doing it to write an expose? That's the only thing that makes sense to me, and that's what I believe. Kind of get away from her onslaught, I started talking to this 18-year-old girl. Father thought I was flirting. I guess I was. He commenced making inquiries about me in the community. And at the end of prayers next Sabbath morning, he and two other burly blokes waved me outside. This Australian Gabbai, the guy who kind of runs things at Torah reading, the one who'd given me an aliyah, called me to the Torah the week before, and who himself would be booted from the shul in a few weeks, said to me, this clearly is not the place you should pray. And I stared at him, my mouth opened, and he continued, we don't have to make a scene. I nodded, said good Shabbos, and walked off. So the experience didn't sour me on Orthodox Judaism. I don't blame those blokes who booted me. I think I could walk into that shore today, no problem. I'm legit, no problem at all. I haven't done it quite yet. I sport a nice long beard these days. If anyone questions whether I'm serious about Judaism, about Torah, you just have to look at me. I'm the real deal. I'm letting down my hair at times. Occasionally I stay for Kiddush after shul. I talk to people. Not single women, but people. Even signed up on Frimster for 3 months. No luck. Oh well. I have attractive female Facebook friends and have my goy therapist. I'm doing the right things.